Yes, recording has started. Okay, I'll hand over to yourself, Councillor Fielding, to start the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the meeting of the Executive Cabinet Member for Adults and Community Housing Services on Monday, the 3rd of March 2025. It is 2 p.m. We have 5 items to consider today, the first of which is the monitoring of Executive Cabinet Member decisions. The report has been enclosed and circulated. Are there any comments? It's just for noting otherwise. No, none from me. Okay, we can move on to item 2. Item 2, the strategic budget report for the Department of Adults. Katie, you're going to take us through this, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yes. Yes, so as you said, so this report outlines the 25-26 revenue budget for adult services. So just taking you through the report, section 2 just breaks down the budget by the service area and shows a 25-26 adult services budget to be 95.6 million. Section 3 just details the changes from the original 24-25 budget to the proposed 25-26 budget. So as you can see, this is where we've got things like the adult social care precept and the additional social care grant applied to it. Section 4 looks at savings for the adult services department. So for 25-26, we need to achieve savings of 1.5 million. And this report seeks to realise these savings in full from a review of care packages and placements. Further details of that's in Appendix B. So just on the recommendations, it is recommended that the executive member notes the proposed revenue budget for adult services of 95,606,800 and approves the identified savings and efficiencies within the report. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, thanks very much, Katie. I mean, so we agreed the budget at full council. Is this just a formality attached to that we just have to take it through this meeting as well? Yeah, I can see nodding. Yeah,
it's just the savings as well.
Okay, fine. Well, I don't have any further comments because we've done it in other places, so nobody else is indicating. In that case, Susan, you can note that I do accept the recommendations as detailed at the front of the report. Okay, thanks, Katie. Short and sweet. Next one is same again for the Department of Housing. Over to you.
Yeah, similar vein. So yeah, this is the 25-26 revenue and capital budget report for housing service and community safety. So just going through the report, table 2 shows the increase to the budget from 24-25 to 25-26, showing the new 25-26 budget is 3.069 million. Section 3 again just outlines the difference from the original budget for 24-25 to the new 25-26 budget. So in this you can see the homeless prevention grant increase of 918,000. Section 4 in this report details the proposed fee increases across the property portfolio and housing services. These have been done in line with legislation and the Consumer Price Index, and Appendix 2 just has the full breakdown of the proposed increases. Section 5 details the proposed savings for 25-26 for the housing service and community safety budget. The savings allocated were 126,000, and this report seeks to realise this in full through savings in the emergency and temporary accommodation of 70,000 and the licensing and grant income targets of 56,000. The capital programme, there's 3 capital programmes that will be carrying on forward into 25-26, and they're detailed in section 6. So in terms of the recommendations for the report, the executive cabinet member is recommended to note the revenue budget of £3,068,600, note the available capital funding for housing service and community safety, approve the proposed rental and service charge fee increases, and approve the identified services and efficiencies within the report. And again, happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Katie. Similarly, we've all seen this before elsewhere and agreed to it in one way or another. So I'm happy to accept the recommendations as detailed at the front of the report. I can't see anybody indicating. So Susan, you can note that. Thank you very much. All right. Thanks, Katie. Thanks for presenting those. So we can move on to adult social care fees report, which again has been circulated. Christian, are you going to speak to this?
Thank you, Councillor Fielding. So, as you said, all have seen the report. I won't go through the report other than to ask that you consider the recommendations to accept the fees. The report identifies the rationale and the process we've gone through to getting to this stage in terms of working with providers and, of course, working with our colleagues in finance. So, really, unless there are any other questions, it's really to accept the uplifts in the report.
Okay, thanks, Christian. A couple of observations before we do. The first is we seem to be disappointed at the level of engagement that we've got from providers, but whilst we have been able to benchmark against others to supplement the evidence base, I'm confident that we have come up with something that is acceptable and will make sure the market's still sustainable. And really pleased to see the stuff in there about living wage as well, so that we believe that the fees are consistent with being able to ensure that providers can pay the living wage or work towards it in the way that we would want them to as an accredited living wage employer. So I've no questions, but I just wanted to draw those couple of bits out. And in that case, I am happy to accept the recommendations as detailed at the front of the report. Susan, thanks, Christian. And finally, one moment, it's difficult when you've only got one screen. Care home top-up policy, enclosed again. I'm not sure whether everybody on this call or all the members on this call were present at the PDG, but this has been through some internal development with members already, hasn't it? And it's presented in the same way. But Christian, you're going to speak to this?
Yes, so I suppose in some ways, again, this is to approve the policy is ready for publication. It's gone through PDG, and also again, the report outlines the work we've gone through in terms of comparing other policies and incorporating the information for that around good practice in our policy. Obviously, it doesn't solve all the problems that these external problems around top-ups. However, it does provide a basis for both the local authority and for residents to understand the process, and that's a good thing.
Okay, thanks, Christian. I can't see anybody indicating, but as most members have seen it before on the PDG and contributed to developing the policy, thanks to you and your team, Christian, for developing this, because I know it's something that we've needed to formalise and it's been a bit ad hoc. Yeah, that's the word, isn't it?
Yeah.
Until now. So now we've got it on, or we will have it approved and on paper. But Christian, you want to come back?
Yeah, and just to say, I mean, it was the great thing about it is it's been a process we've gone through with all our colleagues, so across operations as well as from the commissioning side and working with colleagues elsewhere. So it's hopefully a consolidated approach to top-ups.
Very good. Right, thank you very much. So nobody else wants to come in. In that case, I'll accept the recommendations as detailed at the front of the report, Susan, so you can record that decision is made. And that concludes all the business on the agenda. If you just end the recording.
Bear with me. Stop recording. Stop.